All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 110th National Convention webinar. This evening, we have a lot of great information for you all to dive into on this webinar. It will be facilitated by myself, Ms. Carver Mitchell, Jasmine Livingston, Wisdom Cole, and Tiffany Dina Lofton. And also Ms. Helen Myers as well. All right, real quick, just going through the agenda. First, we're going to run through our welcome, and then we'll have greetings. From there, we'll go through our convention overview of what to expect. Then we'll have our compliance and membership. From there, we'll have convention at a glance, our regional meeting process, and then we'll have 10 minutes for questions and answers. Again, we're going from the welcome to greetings, our convention overview, compliance and membership, convention at a glance, regional meetings, and our questions and answers to finish off. Any questions that you that did not get touched upon during the webinar, we'll be able to answer those questions for you at the end. All right, next with greetings, we have the brilliant, dynamic, our national director, Ms. Tiffany Dina Lofton.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Awesome. Good evening / afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining tonight's call. We are well in advance of schedule compared to where we were last year in terms of having some of the most crucial information that you all need to successfully and specifically plan for convention this upcoming year. So I'm really glad that those of you that are on the phone right now are actually here to take some of these notes and not only receive and digest the information, but make sure that the people in your local areas and in your communities also have the same information. We always say this at every webinar, but the webinar is being recorded. So if there are people who miss this information, it will be readily available for folks to be able to watch on YouTube. We do have a very, very, very active YouTube channel with all of our videos and webinars there. So please make sure that you send that to our folks afterwards in case they did miss this call. But I just want to remind us that we come together once a year at the NAACP for this convention for one reason and one reason only, according to our Constitution. And that reason is to make sure that we are selecting our new leadership of the association that matches the vision of the agenda that we set in terms of priorities for our membership and for the country, and then even for the world. If it's outside of those things for the convention, according to our Constitution and bylaws, it's just there for fun. But this organization that we all serve and work with, both staff and volunteers, is to make sure that we are improving and increasing and creating a better community and world for all of us, specifically people of color and specifically Black folks. And I'm talking specifically Black young people of color. And so that's why we come to convention. Last year, I was so honored to be able to attend. It's not my first convention, but it was my first time running the convention as on the national staff side. And I can't toot my own horn enough and say that we were extremely successful with shifting and shaping some of the goals that we had for last year's convention and meeting those goals by the end of the convention event. And we had young leaders who were leading their own workshops. We had partners from national civil rights organizations that we had not worked with before. We had speakers that were on all ends of the spectrum, from people who like Shakisha Clemens, who actually marks this year 1 year since she was assaulted by police officers at the Waffle House, to Van Lathan, who is from TMZ, all the way to Planned Parenthood, all the way to MTV, that we bring a well-rounded group of people together who hadn't worked together before to present an agenda and new information to help guide how we're going to organize and conduct ourselves for the rest of the year. That's what convention is about. And last year, we all did a fantastic job. This year, the goals are not the same. This year, I have 3 different goals for convention. The first goal, and we'll make sure that you all get most of the details for this throughout today's webinar, but just so you know, that's a great picture, thank you. That you all know that the convention and the program for convention cater to and are shaped around these goals. Now, before I tell you what the goals are, let me be very clear that these goals come through a range of information input. One of the ways we receive information on the national level through staff is from the surveys. There were multiple surveys from last year's convention. That's one. We also receive input because we have a survey that started in January, at like the first week of January of this year, that said, what do you want to see for convention this year? And so we received a lot of input from that. We also are halfway through, praise God, a very busy Kratai schedule where the staff have been traveling every week to every region to train our youth and our young people in the field. And at that training, we also asked our members in person, what do you want to see at convention? How can we make it better? Then we also have a convention committee that is formed by national student leaders across the country. And they also have discussions weekly to decide and help figure out what improvements and changes do we need and adjustments do we need to make for convention. So all of those pieces together have merged into these 3 goals for this year. And I want you to pay very close attention to these as the rest of the webinar continues. The first is we want to train 700 young leaders on strategic issue-based organizing and how to execute and win national priorities. So the first goal is around organizing. 700, we want to train 700 young people at convention in strategic issue-based organizing. That means that they leave out of convention and they know how to go back to their schools, back to their campuses, back to their communities, and say, I see something wrong happening in my community. Here's how I'm going to fix it. That's 1. 2, you all saw that we had, or maybe you didn't. If you didn't, you missed out, but it's also on YouTube. We had a very interesting and I would say disheartening and disappointing State of the Union given by 45 this year that was extremely late because of the government shutdown, that did not address or talk about any of the issues that we've been talking about over the last year. Gun violence, women's reproductive rights, student debt, mass incarceration, and environmental justice, the list goes on. Nowhere in his speech did he talk about any of those things. And so we decided as the National Youth and College Division that we needed to create our own table, not bring our chair to the table, but just make our own table around the millennial voice and the student youth agenda for the country when it comes from Black people. We wanted to give our own agenda. So we had a State of the Union 1 week after 45 gave his, and we are continuing to build on that national narrative to create a national millennial agenda. So last year, you'll notice some changes this year with how we conduct the conversations at convention, because we want you all to help us formulate the NAACP Youth and College Division policy platform nationally. There'll be some debates, there'll be some healthy conversation, there'll be some arguments, there'll be some victories, there'll be some light bulbs that come on for people, and we want to build that national agenda. So that's number 2. We have partners who are coming to database and write down our policy platform. We're going to have thought leaders, who are coming to share and give us input. And then we have media people who are going to come and help us narrate the entire story. And then the last thing is, I've talked a lot about this in my tenure here so far, but for some reason, the NAACP has in its past treated the Youth and College Division like it's a kid table at Thanksgiving, like it's a program of the NAACP. And I've always said the Youth and College Division, Next Gen, and AXO are not a program. They are the actual NAACP. in our Constitution and in our bylaws, youth have just as much decision-making and voting power as the adults do. And so I want us to mirror that at convention this year. Last year, our convention was in a separate building on the other side, away from everything else. We never interacted or crossed with adults to have important, constructive conversations. And this year, I am tearing down that wall in a few areas for us to come together and actually have constructive, healthy conversations to build our national platform. If the adults are going to get better, they got to listen to the students and the young people. If the students and the young people are going to get better, they have to hear from the adults. And we can't do that if we're always in separate rooms. So those are our 3 goals this year. You'll see some of those changes reflected in today's webinar so that you can bring that back to your communities and your families so that they know what's going on before they get to convention. I'm so honored and glad that we're doing this in Detroit, Michigan. The leadership from NAACP Michigan and Detroit have been overwhelmingly amazing when it comes to their leadership and helping us pull this together. And I want to thank, of course, Helen Myers, our National Board of Directors, Vice Chair of the convention and head of our convention committee, who's been all over. She was all over it last year and she's all over it this year. And she's going to bring greetings right now, and then we'll pass it back off to continue the webinar and its information. Love and respect and appreciate all of you all for your time, your leadership and commitment. And I want to pass it on to Helen. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tiffany. Good evening, everyone. My name is Helen Myers, and I am the Region 4 Youth Board member, and I am from Overland Park, Kansas. And I serve as the Vice Chair for the Convention Planning Committee, like Tiffany said. I'm really glad you all were able to join the webinar tonight, as it is a great opportunity to learn more information about convention, answer any questions that you may have at the end, and also give you a lot to look forward to as we are just 3 months out. The staff and the Convention Planning Committee have been working so hard to plan an excellent convention. This gives us an opportunity to share what we've been working on this past year. We took all of your feedback to heart from the last convention, and I'm really hoping to see higher numbers than we've ever seen before. If you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, this year's convention is unique because it will be full of rich history as we come together to advance our people, marking the 60th anniversary of Motown, the 400th anniversary of the transatlantic slave trade, the 65th anniversary of the Brown versus Board of Education, and of course the 110th anniversary of the association. The theme this year is "When we fight, we win," which I feel appropriately represents the association as a whole. I'm really excited for all of you to come to Detroit. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know Kyra is going to talk in a bit about what Detroit has to offer. And speaking of, I did want to give a quick shout out to the Michigan State Conference for welcoming us all to the Motor City. I remember my last convention in Detroit when they buried the N-word, and it was so impactful. So I'm excited and curious to see what Detroit will pull off this year. The staff is about to share a lot of crucial information for you all. But before we get into all of that, I must highlight and recognize why the convention is so important to this association and why it is important for all of us to attend. The convention is really dear to the association ever since the summer of 1909 at the Cooper Union in New York City. Just like Tiffany was saying, it has become a part of the NAACP's annual agenda to meet and celebrate victories, to set goals for the future, and to address obstacles and provide training. And we can't really talk about convention without mentioning the resolutions. A resolution is submitted to the NAACP Resolutions Committee, which is a formal request of the NAACP's convention to change the programs or policies of the NAACP. So only the resolutions which are recommended, meaning agreed to by the Resolutions Committee, will be put to discussion and a vote during the legislative session of the annual convention. Then the resolutions that are adopted by the delegates at convention must be submitted to the Board of Directors for consent at the October board meeting. Some folks like to say this is the only reason why we have convention and everything else that we do is just fluff, which may be true, but there's the workshops where you have the opportunity to learn from your fellow peers, since we've implemented the student-led workshops where you can learn organizing skills to take back home. Not to mention there will be so many activists there that you can listen to speak and connect with. And on top of everything, The convention, I think, has had the most impact on me because of the many opportunities for growth. This will actually be my 13th convention, and I was one of those 6-year-olds being dragged around by my mom to all the adult events. But once I got older, I decided to branch off and attend the youth and college events and meetings by myself. And I remember being so scared and so timid, but eventually I did come out of my shell to now being on the board and vice chair of the whole convention. I don't think I really appreciated why my family really enforced me to go to the convention over the years until I got much older. But the convention is also a great opportunity to network. You get to meet so many people outside of your state, outside of your region. And I challenge you to sit with people you're not so familiar with. You can chat with them and see what their unit or chapter has been working on. It's an opportunity to get inspired and collaborate while potentially making lifelong friends or future employers. Speaking of, each year we have the NAACP experience, which is one of the highlights of the convention. The NAACP experience provides the greatest opportunity for sponsors, partners, companies, civic organizations, and vendors to access both the NAACP membership and the local community during the convention. Admission is free and open to the general public. I believe this year's convention will be one to remember, and I hope you all can make it. If you have any questions about convention or would like to chat with me, you can feel free to contact me anytime. Just 2 weeks ago, I was actually on Region 5's conference call talking about convention, so I'd be happy to do that for any of you as well. And I look forward to seeing you all in Detroit.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Helen and Tiffany, for welcoming us and your greetings. Next, we're going to move forward and talk a little bit more about compliance and membership in relationship to convention. So next we have Derek Lewis. He'll be talking a little bit more about this. He is our National Field Organizer for the Youth and College Division.
Thank you for that introduction, Ms. Livingston. Can everybody hear me okay? Well, can you hear me okay, Jasmine?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So compliance. This is really huge. We were talking about being active and participating in convention. We were talking about being a delegate. So what is compliance and what does it consist of? I've been preaching this since I've been in my role, and I'm going to continue to preach it until we all get this down. Compliance consists of these 3 things. That's with you first having 25 paid members, submitting your annual financial report, and along with submitting it, paying your dues as well, which is $75. Now, today is very important because today is the compliance deadline date for convention. So that means that we are officially 90 days out from convention. What does this mean? So with the compliance date, what this essentially means is that if you're in compliance at this time, you'll pay the compliant fee. If not, you'll pay the non-compliant fee. Now, with that being said, if you are in compliance, of course, you have the power to have delegates for your unit. If you're not in compliance, usually what happens is that you're not allowed to have delegates. This year, I know that as Nazar Scott, our compliance officer, preached during his annual financial report tutorial, is that units who are not in compliance by April 22nd, which is today, they have the opportunity to get back into compliance by convention. They will still have to pay the non-compliant fee, but they'll be able to have delegate representation at convention. I'm going to repeat that again. If you are not in compliance currently now, moving forward, if you were to get into compliance in between now and the time of convention, your unit will still have to pay the non-compliant fee, but you will be able to have delegation or have voters for the unit. And that's really huge. We're going to talk about having participation at our regional meetings, which I'll talk upon later, and just being an active voter participant at convention. All right, next is membership. So chartering and reactivating units. If you are on the call, I know that I have a few on here. Any unit or group who is interested in chartering or reactivating their unit, please submit all materials by May 3rd, 2019. Not May 6th, not May 8th, not May 9th, not May 18th, May 3rd. This is very important. We're talking about getting you guys ready for the May board meeting and making sure that you have all your support and documentation. If you don't know what that is your 25 membership forms or the summary report. Also your dues, which is in the form of a money order or a check, your letter of intent, and also your support letters. Everything that you send to the national office, it is imperative that you make a copy of everything that you sent. Very imperative. What I do is, what I highly encourage is make a copy for yourself, send your original packet off, and also with the copy that you have, I'll say just scan it to me as well, just so that I can have a copy, just in case anything else goes wrong. Thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you, Derek. And there'll also be opportunities to ask further questions at the end of the webinar. Next, we have convention at a glance. So we have a lot in stores for this year's agenda for our Youth and College Division program. And so I'll go through the next few days of convention, the days that we'll have in convention, that's Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. This will be where youth and college programs, this is throughout the entire weekend of convention, there'll be a number of different programs that will be going on simultaneously, and I will just be highlighting the youth and college program. So on Sunday, July 21st, we'll start with registration. Most people will be flying in on that day, so registration will be open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. that day, and you'll be welcome to register at any point throughout the day. From 10 to 3 p.m., from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., we'll have our Her Idea Lab in partnership with the Econ Department. From 2 to 3:30, we'll have an orientation. We'll have two orientations. One will be for the youth advisors, and we'll have another orientation for new attendees if it's their first time ever attending convention. From 4 to 5:45, we'll have our annual Youth and College Welcome Session. It'll be a great opportunity to meet some of the national staff, some of the National Youth Work Committee members, get the opportunity to meet some of the members within your region, so on and so forth. And then we'll have the public mass meeting. The public mass meeting is not the Youth and College public mass meeting. This will be the overall NAACP public mass meeting from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. on that Sunday. The new thing that we'll be introducing this year, we'll be having an advisors mixer from 9 to 10:30 to honor our advisors and all of the hard work that they've been doing over this last year. This will be happening at the same time that we'll actually be having our youth welcome social. So every year we've been having the silent party, and so this will be happening at the same exact time. Our silent party will be taking place from 9 to 11 p.m. on that Sunday. Monday, July 22nd, we'll be having morning fitness. This will be in collaboration with the health department. So from 5:30 to 6:30, we're going to highly encourage our youth and college members to participate. In previous years, we haven't had many youth and college members to participate. And so we want to make sure that that's a program that we continue throughout the next years of convention. And so we really want to encourage you all to participate. We know that it's really early, but we wanted to make sure that there was time for our youth and college members to be able to get there before our youth and college regional meetings. So our regional meetings this upcoming year will continue to be at 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Then we'll have regional meetings from 8 to 9. Our open plenary sessions will be from 9 to 12 p.m. And from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., we'll have our community service project. In previous years, we've had our Claire Looper Luncheon. This year, we will be having a community service project in place of the Claire Looper Luncheon. Wisdom Cole will be detailing a little bit more about the community service project in this webinar as well. From 2:30 to 4:30, we'll be having our strategy sessions. This will give members the opportunity to learn some new skills and figure out how they can use those skills back on their with their units and on their respective communities. From 5 to 7, we will be having our youth and college public mass meeting. This year, it will be a town hall discussion. So we'll give the opportunity for members to participate in this conversation. We're looking forward to it. We'll also have some really exciting speakers that will be helping to facilitate this meeting. but that's a really big, important part of our convention. That'll be a change that we've gotten a lot of feedback about from previous years, and so we're really looking forward to that. We'll also have our youth social from 8:30 to 11 p.m. and our young professionals reception. Tuesday, July 23rd, we'll have morning fitness again from 5:30 to 6:30. Our youth and college regional meetings will take place again at 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Regional meetings from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And we'll have our plenary sessions where we'll be going over resolutions. This will also be really, really important for you all to participate in. And this will be taking place from 9:30 to 12:30. From 12:30 to 2:30, we'll have our Roy Wilkins luncheon. And then following that, we'll have our Game Changer workshop. So this year, which will be different from last year, this year our youth and college members will be participating in the larger Game Changer workshops. Last year's we had our own Game Changer workshop for youth and college division. This year we want to be really, really intentional about having intergenerational spaces so that the youth and college membership and the adult membership will be able to collaborate and making sure that there's space for youth and college members to be able to be seen, to be heard, and to participate in these Game Changer workshops as well, and that they're not separate. So from 4:30 to 5:30, we'll have our youth and college-led workshops. 5:30 to 6:30, the National Youth Work Committee will be meeting. And then we'll have our annual gala, the Juanita Jackson Mitchell Gala, from 7 to 9 p.m. And you all will be getting more information about what our theme is for this year. Following our gala, we'll have our after party from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. So we've been receiving a lot of questions about the costs and registration fees for this year's convention. And so Derek Lewis, he went through what the process of being in compliance. So if you don't know your compliance status, you will be receiving that information soon. And so if you are in compliance, advanced registration will be $75. If you're not in compliance, registration costs will be $100. There will also be opportunities for on-site registration if you missed the deadline. Then those who are in compliance the price will be $100. For those who are non-compliant, will be $125. There will also be opportunities for observers and daily attendees. So the weekly rate will be $100. And then the daily rate will be $25. So if there's members or participants that are not a part of the NAACP, they're also welcome to participate if they want to pay a weekly fee of $100 or a $25 fee per day. There will also be an opportunity for our youth and college members to purchase the youth package. The youth package will include one ticket one youth and college convention registration package, and then also a ticket for the Roy Wilkins luncheon and a ticket for the Juanita Jackson Youth Freedom Fund dinner. And those who are in compliance, the total will be $145. And those who are in non-compliance will be $170. This year's cost for the convention hotel. This year will be at the Courtyard by Marriott Detroit downtown. And our cost this year will be $179 per night. If you would like to do valet parking, it'll be $18 per night. I know there's been a lot of questions about the distance from the hotel to where the convention will be held at the Cobo Convention Center. So it's roughly half a mile. It'll be a 10-minute walk straight down. If you do not want to walk, or if that's not accessible, walking isn't feasible for you, it'll be a 2-minute drive or a 6-minute transit ride. There'll also be shuttles that the hotel will be providing to the convention center as well. There's also individual pricings for the luncheons. So we will have a prayer breakfast still that will be taking place on Sunday, July 21st, which will be $50. The Win Empowerment Brunch will be taking place on Sunday, July 21st for $75. The Clarence Mitchell Luncheon, Monday, July 22nd will be $60. The Health Luncheon, Monday, July 22nd will also be $50. For the Roy Wilkins Luncheon, Tuesday, July 23rd. So this is a youth and college luncheon. It'll be $25. Membership luncheon, Tuesday, July 23rd will be $60. The Juanita Jackson Youth Fund Freedom Fund dinner will be taking place on Tuesday, July 23rd will be $45. The labor luncheon on Wednesday, July 24th will be $60. And the Springham Freedom Fund Awards dinner will be taking place on Wednesday, July 24th, and that'll be $150. So some recommended travel suggestions. We highly, highly recommend you to book in advance because then you'll risk the prices increasing. And so to prevent that, we are encouraging you all to look into booking your travel well in advance. So if you're interested in taking a plane, the estimated cost is $300 to $600 or more. Obviously, it varies depending on which city you're departing from and when you book your flight. We encourage you to fly into Detroit, Metropolitan Wayne County Airport. It is the airport that has the most flights. However, there is also the option to fly into Windsor International Airport, which is a little closer to the center of Detroit. We're also suggesting looking into train options, and the estimated cost will be $25 to $300, a little more cost effective than planes. Also, bus as another potential option. It's probably the most cost effective. And so we are encouraging you all to either organize with members and see if busing is a option for you all, or a car. You're welcome to rent a car or drive your own personal car. And we're encouraging everyone to carpool if that's also an option. Next, we'll have Kyra Mitchell. She will be talking a little bit more about the Youth and College Award submission process. Hi, is Kyra on the line? She may be muted. Kyra, if you can hear me, unmute your screen. Yeah, for some reason we cannot hear you, Kyra.
So sorry, everybody. What's going on with my computer's audio? So let me start over from what I was saying. To introduce myself, I'm Kyra Mitchell. I am the vice chair for the awards subcommittee. And I also come out of Michigan. So before I go over the award submission process, I just want to run through a few things that Detroit does have to offer outside of the convention this summer. Downtown Detroit, where the Public Center and the convention will be held this year, we do have a lot of great things. We have a lot of great food. We have Greek Town, Mexican Town. We have a lot of soul food restaurants. One of my favorite restaurants is Sweetwater. They have some amazing wings downtown. There's also a lot of shopping, and we have a lot of Black-owned businesses downtown, which is going to be really beneficial to help us keep our dollars circulating throughout our community. There's also a lot of African American history museums downtown. And then also outside of being known as the Motor City, Detroit is known for Motown. So we also have a Motown museum. And we also have one of the biggest highlights of Detroit is Canada being so close. So if you did want to visit another country during one of the breaks of convention, you could cross the border if you bring your passport and everything. So to run through just really quickly for the award submission process, some things are slightly different this year. Instead of the previous years, how you had to submit your applications to various emails, all of the applications will be submitted through one Google form this year. And the links are on this slide right here that you see. Before you do submit your application, I highly, 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 highly recommend going through that award submission packet, because that packet has everything in detail, and further details saying everything that you need to submit with your packet. And if you do not submit the proper materials with your application, we won't be able to score because it is missing pieces. So make sure you do go to the application packet so that you know what needs to be submitted with which application or which award you want to apply for. This year, we have extended it. We open applications up a lot earlier than we have in the past, and this year they will close on Friday, May 31st at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Outside of that, some of the awards that we do, we did slightly increase some of the awards that we are giving out this year. And then also a big incentive that a lot of people like is our Youth and College Director Award for Organizer of the Year. That award, if you were to win it, there's always one winner selected from each region. If you are selected as the winner from your region, you will get your transportation and your hotel paid for to come to the convention. And then if you have any questions outside of this, make sure that you do send an email to naacpycawards.com at gmail.com. Sorry, if you have any questions after this webinar. And on this slide right here, I just have two pictures. This first picture is of the award submission packet that has all the detailed instructions. And then the second picture is of the actual application. That is the Google form that you will submit your application and all the proper materials with.
Thank you, Kyra. Okay, next we have Mr. Wisdom Cole. He is our National Organizing Manager, and he will talk a little bit more about the community service project that we will be having on Monday, July 22nd.
Good evening, youth and college members. This is Wisdom Cole here speaking, the National Organizing Manager, as Jaslyn so graciously introduced me. This year we will be having a community service project that is an opportunity for youth and college members to get involved and affect directly with the community in Detroit. We have two opportunities, one being a Detroit voter registration canvas, where we'll be going out doing some door knocking, getting some folks in the local area to register to vote. The other project will be a greening of Detroit, where students will have the opportunity to plant trees in the local neighborhoods. And so the community service project will take place on Monday, July 22nd from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. There will be lunch provided. Each trip is going to be about 50 or so students. And so as soon as that comes out and the opportunity is available, definitely sign up as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Wisdom. Next, we have Mr. Derek Lewis. He will talk a little bit more about the convention regional meetings.
Thank you, Jaslyn. I'm back. So our Youth and College regional meeting. So if you don't know when they take place, these are the meetings that you attend when you are half asleep and you don't know what is going on. So these meetings take place on Monday and Tuesday at 7 a.m. sharp. So meetings should be starting at 7. It'll be ideal for you to get there like around 6:50-ish, 10 minutes prior to. This year is our youth election year. At our regional board meeting this year, we'll be having elections coming up for the youth board member and also for the youth representative for the National Youth Work Committee. How does this take place, or how are you able to be able to run for this position? Is that you must be under the age of 25. under the age of 25 and must be a member in good standing for at least 180 days prior to. With the National Youth Work Committee Youth Representative, like I said, this will be done by doing floor nominations. Floor nominations. So if you're not there, you're not there. If you're there, you're there. But how you are able to run for these positions is floor nominations, which takes place at the regional board meeting itself. And I guess to give you like a little overview of how the meetings are usually ran, previously in the past, it has been started off with the previous year officers, with your regional officers, which are usually done either state by state or by floor elections, depending on how your region operates. From there, the meeting will be called to order, and then you will elect new officers for the regional. And then from that point, you will have introduction of state presidents, board members, and special guests. Like I said, this year, there'll be elections for the National Youth Work Committee for the board seat and to be a youth representative. Once you are elected, youth representatives for the National Youth Work Committee will start immediately. If you are elected to the board, you will be sworn in February. So if you're elected for the board, you won't be sworn into the annual board meeting in February. If you got elected to the National Youth Work Committee for your region as a youth representative, you will immediately take your position. And that is it.
Thank you, Derek. Next, we have fundraising suggestions. Mr. Wisdom Cole will be outlining that.
So as folks are thinking about getting to convention, we want to definitely give folks a few strategies on how to identify potential donors, think about ways to receive funding, think about any and all ways to make sure that your community or the people you're trying to get to convention are able to get there. When you're thinking about potential donors, we definitely want you to think about the NAACP adult branches. If you have good relationships with them, definitely talking with them and asking for support, asking for ways in which either they can support y'all or if there's some things that they can do to support the local units. And so in other times, I've seen different state conferences give certain amount of money allocation for youth and college units to attend events such of this nature. So as is an opportunity for development of our youth and college students, we definitely want that to make it an opportunity for them to join. Looking at if you're on campus, is there funding from your student body government? Is there a student life office? Is there some kind of diversity fund, a scholarship, other local corporations or local businesses, right? Things that people can sponsor you as folks who are going to be attending this conference and bringing back knowledge and information to the community. One way in which we do this is we put out solicitation or sponsorship letters. We use solicitation and sponsorship letters to fundraise and collect directly from donors. And we can also provide that as opportunity in terms of what does a sponsorship letter look like. And so feel free to contact me to get an example of that. Another one is a campus or community funding proposal. Oftentimes on certain campuses or certain communities, there is funding pots that people can pull from, but you have to be able to write a proposal to them that you know exactly what you're going to be doing with the money. That means including an itemized budget, including an itinerary, including a schedule. So everything that Jocelyn has gone over in terms of the schedule for convention, using that as well as the costs, as well as any potential events that you're going to be attending, would all go into that campus funding proposal. Last but not least, we want to urge folks to hold profit nights. A profit night is holding a event with a working corporation to donate a percentage of the profits from that night. So maybe you're working with Little Caesars, maybe you're working with Cold Stones, maybe you're working with Wingstop, maybe you're working with any kind of food companies such as Jamba Juice, things like that. Oftentimes companies like that will allow you to work with them. They only need a few documents from you just to make sure that they can get their tax ID status as well. So definitely reach out to them. You basically fill out an application, fill out your tax information, and create a flyer and bring participants to the event. And so those are all really good ways in which you can think about making sure that you're funding and getting finance to go to convention.
Thank you, Wisdom. So next we'll have opportunities for question and answer. So you heard from Mr. Derek Lewis, you've heard from Wisdom Cole, you've heard from Helen, our national director, myself, and Ms. Kyra Mitchell and Helen Myers. So this will be the opportunity for you all to ask questions. You have the option to write in a question, or you have the option to raise your hand. On your panel, there should be a panel where you can raise your hand and you'll be able to actually speak in and ask your question. So we got a question from Claudia Mason regarding awards. Is it possible to get a short profile on the accomplishments of past recipients of the various awards? Would really appreciate some insight of the superlative accomplishments that made the cut. So this is a question for Kyra. And if you want, I can repeat the question as well.
Hello.
Yes, Kyra.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to answer the question about the awards right now?
Yes.
Okay. So with the question about awards, it asked if it was possible to get a short profile on the accomplishments of past recipients of the various awards. That is not information that I currently have, but I can work on getting it. And seeing if that could be something that we pass out. But it's that application packet. It does have all those detailed information, saying the things that are highlighted and kind of required in there in that information packet. But we can try to work on getting a short profile on the past recipients of those awards.
Beautiful. Thank you. Next question was, will they offer breakfast at the hotel? There will be breakfast at the hotel, but there will be associated costs. So you may have to pay additional fee for the breakfast, but they do have breakfast options. Next question we have, are there any volunteer opportunities available? If so, where can one go to receive more information?
So yes, there will be volunteer opportunities for the national convention. If you are interested in volunteering for a convention, you can send me an email at dlewis@naacpnet.org. Again, my email is dlewis@naacpnet.org. One thing I do want to highlight with volunteers, we have limited amount of spots, and with you being a volunteer, you are a volunteer. You will be working hand on with staff, with all the logistics that need to be completed, and just having a good time with organizing, see what it's like to be a part of national staff. So you won't be able to fully participate in convention. So if you do want to be a volunteer, I highly recommend that it's somebody who has experience with convention, not necessarily somebody that's new to the association.
All right. Thank you, Derek. So we have another question from Maggie. Do you guys have an exact date for when chapters will know if they are in compliance or not?
So a compliance report will be released soon. When I say soon, within the next upcoming weeks. What I can do to ensure that everybody has access to see who's in compliance and who's not is just like how we sent out the rosters this year. I can send out a list of the compliant units to the state advisor and the state conference president so that they can have access to that. And if you have any other questions, it'll be in the hands of your state advisor.
Thank you, Derek. So we have another question from Jeffersonville. What's the deadline for early registration for the youth package? So as of right now, we don't have a specific deadline for registration. We are still waiting for compliance updates. We're looking to have registration open at the latest the end of May, early June. But as soon as we get that information, we're going to share it with everyone that's registered. And we'll share that publicly on our email serve, on our website, and on our social media platforms as well. Maggie also asked the question of what is Wisdom Cole's email? His email is WCOLE@NAACPnet.org. We also have a question from Tyler. What tax information should a youth council have?
Tyler, I'm gonna have you to retype this. So you mean tax information? Are you responding in regards of your EIN number? Let's go ahead and type that question again or specify what exactly you mean with tax information.
Okay. We'll come back to Tyler's question. The next question we have is there any way we can do something to assist with the Flint water crisis while we are there, like a water bottle drive? Is Wisdom Cole still on the line? So Wisdom is in charge of our community service projects. I would also advise maybe emailing him and he can give you a better idea of what we can do with that project. I think it's a great idea. I know that we've been looking into some potential opportunities of how we can help with the Flint water crisis. So Wisdom Cole will be a great resource to reach out to. And you're welcome to email him at wcole@naacpnet.org. So Tyler's question, he shared that I know for profit nights, some organizations require a W-9 form. Who should have that information?
So when you are filling out the W-9 form, so I think that it is I think that you are regarding to your EIN number, which is kind of like your social security number for the unit. If you do not have your EIN number or the documentation for it, please send me an email at dlewis, that's DLEWIS, @naacpnet.org, and I'll work on getting that documentation for you.
So we had another question about hotel costs and travel. Are hotel costs and travel included? If registration is not open until the end of May or early June, how are college chapters to receive school funding? That is a great question. And that was the reason why we were really pushing to get youth and college prices out as soon as possible. So we don't have the prices for everyone for registration, but we have youth and college prices. So if your college chapter is aware of whether or not they're in compliance or not, they know that they've paid their dues and they have 25 members and the other requirements for membership, then more than likely they're in compliance and those prices will not change. So if they're requesting funding from their universities, they can still use those prices as a guide to get that funding. I know some schools will be wrapping up in May. So we can also look into other opportunities or options that we may have for funding purposes, but know that those prices will not change. Do we have any other additional questions? Also, hotel costs and travel isn't included in the registration prices. Those are separate prices. But we highly encourage you. You're welcome to book the hotels now. You can book the hotels, and we also encourage you to book your travel now if you can. Someone said we're having issues booking the hotels. It's saying it's not available. You're also welcome to call the hotel. We'll check in and see why the link isn't working and why it's not available. But you're welcome to call the hotel. We have rooms blocked off and reserved for youth in college. So you can specify that you're registering for your participant of the Youth in College NAACP convention, and they'll be able to book your reservation for the rooms.
So there are a few questions about advisors. Do they pay the same price as the youth? No, you will not. You will pay the adult price.
And those prices have not been released yet. So the adult prices have not been released, but the youth advisors will be paying a separate price from the youth. So these prices are only for youth in college members and those who are under the age of 25 and under. Does NAACP offer any grants or scholarships to help students/units with convention fees? Unfortunately, we do not offer any grants or scholarships. Wisdom Code detailed some opportunities or suggestions of how to fund convention fees. Also using the award submission process as a potential opportunity for students to get their transportation, hotel, and registration covered as well. We encourage our students also to reach out to either mentors or to their local branch and see if there's any opportunities for scholarships and sponsorship, and then also fundraising opportunities, crowdsourcing, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, National do not offer grants or scholarships to fund convention. And as soon as we get more information about the adult prices, we will also share that, so the advisors will also know how much the Youth in College the convention will cost. Are hotels requiring a 2-night deposit? I'm not, to be honest, we're not sure if they're requiring a 2-night deposit. In previous years, they have. What I would advise is to give them a call. And then if that isn't feasible, they may only require you to reserve for at least 1 night, but they may require a deposit. How many youth can be in a room? That's completely up to either the advisor or whoever's the chaperone. We know that that's a good opportunity to cut costs. I know in previous years, some units have had 4 youth per room, and there's been 2 people per bed. If that works, then that's also another way to cut costs. But we don't have any limits, or we're not in charge of like determining the limits. I think that'll be up to you all's discretion. Are we required to go to every event? we highly, highly, highly encourage you to attend every event. We know that we will have a very, very packed schedule. So there'll be times and moments where you may be exhausted, you may be hungry, you may be tired, you may even be bored, and hopefully that will not be the case. However, we are purposefully and intentionally making a program to meet you all's needs, and we hope that it's something that's going to be exciting, rewarding, opportunity for you all to learn and grow. So we're highly encouraging you all to attend every event, especially if you're paying to attend. We would you want to make sure that you get the most out of convention this year. Is there an NAACP parental/consent form? Yes, there is a consent form. And so they will be sent out digitally, and you'll be able to send them back to Youth in College digitally. And then there'll be opportunities for youth to also sign consent forms, and their advisors or whoever their chaperone is to be able to sign the consent forms the weekend of convention as well. We'll have them in our Youth in College office. Are there any additional questions? So the question is, in your personal opinion, what should our attire be for all 3 days? Should we be strictly business professional or business casual?
In the past, I highly encourage a little bit of both, just depending on the days. Like for our welcome session, the first day, I highly recommend going business casual. The next days, for me, and what I mean by business casual is if you have any, if you don't wear your unit shirt, or if you have any type of NAACP swag, the first day will be best for that. On the next 2 days, I recommend that you wear your business professional attire. But if you are attending the community service event, that's another opportunity for you to switch up your swag and put on another NAACP shirt just to rep the association. And we also will be providing shirts at the convention as well, if you don't have another one. And also for our last day to close it out, I highly recommend that you come business professional as well. And then our gala, that's usually a formal attire event.
What is the attire for the gala? So every year the gala is usually formal. We will be sharing this year's theme. We haven't publicly announced it yet, but we will be sharing this year's theme. It will be a formal attire. Next question from Kiki was, so we should receive the consent forms via email. So you'll be able to have access to the consent forms on our website. So if you go to naacpyc.org, we will be having the consent forms on our website as well. If you email us directly at youthincollege@naacpnet.org, we can also provide the consent forms. These were some great questions. Are there any additional questions before we wrap up our webinar? So we have another question. Could you also post a sample fundraiser letter?
Yes. So with that, if you go to our YouTube page, we had a fundraiser webinar in February. On that webinar, it does give you a template of that, and also a few other ideas or templates that you can use for your fundraising letters or letters of solicitation. If you feel like that is going too fast for you, you want the actual physical copy, send me an email at dlewis@naacpnet.org, and I'll make sure that you have that document for you.
Awesome. We have another question. Do we pay for the gala? Yes, the gala is an additional cost from registration. So if your youth are interested in participating in the gala or attending the gala, they can purchase the youth package. And if they're in compliance, they will receive a ticket for the luncheon, the Roy Wilkins luncheon, the gala, and registration, and that will be $145, and for non-compliance, $170. If they just want to attend the gala, the price is $45 additional. Okay, thank you all for joining us on this webinar this evening. We hope that it was helpful. Know that we are a resource and we are accessible. So if you have any additional questions that we weren't able to address this evening, feel free to email us at youthcollege@naacpnet.org. And also check out our website. We just recently launched our NAACP Youth and College website at naacpyc.org. We will be using that as a way to update you all on anything related to convention. We also have you all's email, so we will send additional updates as well. But know that we are accessible, so feel free to reach out. We know we are 90 days out to convention. We hope that you are getting ready and prepared and excited. We have a great program in stores for you all. We're excited to be in Detroit and know that Detroit has so much to offer as well. We have one last question. Will the slides be posted/shared? Yes, we will be posting this webinar. So it is recorded. So we will post this webinar on our YouTube page. Follow our YouTube page. We will be updating. We use that as a platform to update any trainings that we have or any webinars that we have in the future. So you can look on our YouTube page, subscribe, and we will be sharing the slides as well. And also for the advisors that are on the call, we do have an advisor webinar taking place this upcoming Sunday at 8:30. So if you have not registered yet, please register, and we'll be sharing additional information. Our National Director, Tiffany Dina Lofton, will be facilitating that webinar. So thank you once again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you all in Detroit. Good night.
Bye, Jess. Thank you.
Bye, Kyra. Thank you.
Were you able to get on the webinar? Okay. Okay. Say it again. Okay.